We are looking real professional today. We are just oozing professionalism today, ladies and gentlemen. Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Let's Get Kraken podcast. If you are a returning viewer, welcome back. Thank you for coming back. I know it's been a while, but thank you so much for returning. And if you are a new viewer, hi, I'm Eden. I'm the podcast host. I am a designer, knitter, crocheter, painter, all the things. You can find the links to my Ravelry page where you can find me and my patterns. You can also find the link to our Ravelry group. And then I'm just here on YouTube. Yeah. No more Instagram. I don't have a business anymore. Kraken Made, the company, is no more. I'll talk about that later on in the podcast. It's been a while. My mouth is going dry just by talking, but I just want to throw in, this is the lead-free version of like a Stanley. My mom got this for me for Valentine's Day, and I love it. It's huge. Look at it. It's as big as my head. This is my water bottle. A lot has happened. A lot has happened. I will talk more detail about it at the end of the episode if you are interested in that information. If not, we're just here for the knitting, and there is a good chunk of it. I've not been knitting or crocheting while on my break. After Vlogmas, I decided to take a break from all the internet stuff and the business, and it felt great, and it was a big weight lifted off of me for a while, and so I just kept going and made some crazy decisions, like closing my business and cutting my hair off. You can see it's gone. It's gone. It feels so nice. But anyway, yeah, the podcast is still going to be going. There will be some changes made name-wise for all the stuff, because I am not Kraken Made anymore. I've been, thinking a lot about what to morph into, I guess. Anyway, all this to say, I am back, and I'm not going anywhere. We are going to get back into our regular schedule, and it might be a little rocky, but we are going to get back into our regular schedule of a podcast every other week. Okay, I have some finished objects, and also sorry about the mic here in front of me. I could not find my regular mic, but hopefully this one works out a little bit more. I might be a tad bit quiet, so don't be afraid to crank me up. This is a video game Twitch streamer style microphone, so it's meant to be close to your face and only to pick up your voice, which is nice in the way that you're not going to hear anything else in the house, but it is also just me and the dog today, so it's extra quiet. Yeah. So it has to be close to my face, and I will do my best to remain close. If I move away, I know it'll get quieter, so I'll do my best to remain a decent distance from the microphone. Okay. Lots of finished objects, works in progress. Some of them you will know from Vlogmas. If you didn't watch Vlogmas, that is totally okay. These will all be new to you. What I'm wearing, though. I am wearing the Halibut sweater by Caitlin Hunter, or Boylan Knitworks. I knit this out of Tofino Knit Co.'s Lighthouse DK Tweed. It is so nice. These were Nativity Advent yarns that she dyed for me 2 years ago, 3 years ago. I don't remember, one of those. So they're not around anymore, but there are similar colors in the shop, and I really love it. It's really cozy. Yeah, that's all I'm wearing for knit-wise things. Sorry. I really hope I don't get too loud. I'm trying to remain like an even voice. Yeah, let's just get into finished objects. Let's just hop right in. Let's go. I'm so excited. Do forgive me if my brain kind of stops and starts along the way, because it has been a little bit. But we'll start with one of the projects that I started during Vlogmas and have finished. I've actually finished them during Vlogmas as well. So if you had seen Vlogmas, you would have seen these before. But these are the World's Simplest Mittens by Tin Can Knits. And I knit these using Fable Knitwear's Older Base, which is a DK 100% organic merino wool, muslin free, non-superwash, in the colorway Cocoa. And they are just lovely. They're so nice, so soft. I don't remember what needles I used to knit these with, but I did get exact gauge from the pattern. So if you knit these mittens, just get gauge. I didn't make any changes to them. I think the only thing I did change, now it's coming back to me a little bit, but I did cast off sooner than what was in the pattern because I thought it would make too much of a point. So it has a little bit more of a rounded top. I ended up giving these to my mom for Christmas, and she loves them. And yeah, so that's work in progress number 1. Number 2, we're going to, this one, yeah, I did start during Vlogmas. You saw a little bit of it. This is a project that is strange to think that it's finished because I've had it in my stash knowing exactly what I was going to do with it for a long time. About 5 years now. 5 or 4. Look how cute! So this is the Flax sweater, also by Tin Can Knits. It hasn't been blocked yet, so the stuff is kind of, the ribbing is curling. I use the fingering weight, the Flax Light version of the pattern. This is a free sweater pattern that you can get on Ravelry or their app, which I highly recommend the app. It's really nice. So yeah, I use the Flax Light, but I knit with fingering double. So I get a DK weight style gauge. There's a dog. Sorry, the dog was getting bored and wanted to bother me, so I got her something to entertain her for a minute. Hopefully, if we hear crashing about, it has gone too far. So, we're on the sweater. It hasn't been blocked yet, so the ribbing is curling, but I knit this out of Crux Fibers. This is When She Died Superwash. So it is a superwash fingering. The color here, the main color, was a Yukon themed box. And this was the yarn she dyed based off of a picture. It was so beautiful. I made a progress keeper to go with that box. And then the blue, she dyed specifically for me for a design that I had an idea for. I'm so sorry, Brittany. It never came to be. The minis that I bought from you for that pattern are in my neat ripple blanket. it just never came to be. Sometimes patterns do that. If you're a designer and you buy yarn specifically for a pattern and it never comes to be, that is totally okay. Sometimes the inspiration just doesn't work. So anyway, I had this blue. I have some left over here. I don't have the ball bands for these anymore, but Brittany, I love this color so much. Thank you so much for dyeing this for me. It has gone to something very special. This sweater, I've always known that I wanted to knit this yarn into a flax sweater for my future kids. I'm not planning to have kids anytime soon, but one day I want to be able to give them this adorable sweater. So I knit the second size, which is the 6 to 12 month size. It's fairly big. The last one I knit, I gifted to, I think she was 1.5. So depending on the kid, it doesn't really matter what size it is. But anyway, I knit the 6 to 12 month size. And it takes 2 skeins of DK weight yarn. So what I did was I knit as much as I could with the main color to get like all that beautiful marling in. So I did the full sleeves in that color, and then I used the navy blue to put in some really cute stripes. I really like how it came out. I wish I had more of this and was able to do like the entire body in this color, but I think it worked out really well. It is a unisex kind of gender neutral sweater. I really like it. Did I say what needles I used for it? I hope I did. I'm going to say it again in case I didn't. I used 2.5 millimeter needles for the ribbings, and I knit the body with 4 millimeter needles. So that is the Flax sweater by Tin Can Knits, and I will knit so many more of these. This is an excellent travel project because as soon as you get the raglan is really interesting, and the body, perfect knitting for going to like a movie theater or out and about. Like, you don't have to think about it, and there's enough of it that you don't have to worry about if you're getting to the end or not, and you have to like measure. Perfect. Love a flax project. Okay, so fingering held double for that. Flax light stitch count, but DK weight gauge. Okay. I hope I said that as cleanly as possible. I'm so out of practice. Right. The next finished object is one that took a while to finish, but it was so worth it. Ta-da! So this is the Winter Wood Sweater by the Petite Knitter. It is a yoked colorwork sweater this was my first time doing 3-stranded colorwork. I never want to do it again, but it is very pretty. I used worsted weight superwash yarn. I don't know where the ball bands are for the gray and the black, but the black is Cauldron from Sweet Georgia, and I have to really dig in the back of my brain. You can see like it's somewhere in there. And then the main yellow color is Over the Moon Yarns on her Asteroid Aran base in the colorway Vega, which I believe is a discontinued colorway. The only modification I made is that I didn't put the color work on the bottom. By the time I reached the bottom of the body, I knew that if I worked on the color work there, it would take another year to finish just to get the motivation to do that. So I skipped it, just went straight to ribbing. But I did put on the color work, for the cuff. It's just so pretty. And it's so cozy. I believe I used needles called for. It's a little wide, but that is just because it is a yoked sweater. I find that yoke sweaters often kind of have that little bit more. Like this is a yoke sweater and it kind of puffs up right there. I don't mind that. That is just how circular yokes work. But I love it. I love it. And the gray, I don't remember what it was from. Actually, I do remember one of it was from Ginger Snap Yarns and their DK Tweed. Then I ran out because I only had one skein, and then I continued on with a Dragon Horde gray tweed, but I don't remember the name of that one. You can't even tell. I switched somewhere in this yoke. So yeah, you can't even tell. You'd never know. But it's done, and I'm getting lots of wear out of it. It is a fantastic winter sweater for keeping cozy. And then my last finished object is another sweater. It goes this way. Ta-da! So this I get so much wear out of. This is my third DRK Everyday Sweater by Andrea Mowry. I knit this using Barbossa's Apple on my Whirlpool fingering base from when I dyed yarn. I have some leftover yarn, or yarn stock from when I dyed yarn. So it is a fingering weight yarn with 2 strands non-superwash merino with 1 strand superwash to give it kind of a barber pole effect. It's really light and airy. Love it. And then I held it with a mohair. It is a lichen and lace on her marsh mohair base, and it was a one-of-a-kind colorway. So the mohair is what gave it this little specks of red and darker green and kind of silver. But this is the perfect weight. I highly recommend knitting a DRK Everyday Sweater with fingering and mohair. My gauge is slightly smaller than what the pattern calls for, but I'm okay with that. I knit the collar, I believe, was 2.75, and then the body I knit with 4.5 millimeter needles. But it's just so soft and that perfect layer of warmth, but it's breathable. That's the amazing thing about it. It's warm, but it's breathable. You're not getting hot and then just sweating. None of that going on with this. And I decided to knit the collar to the full 2 inches instead of the 1 inch like I've done before. And I find lately that I want sweaters to come up closer to my neck, just because I like that look better. I don't like when my t-shirts, my tank tops are peeking out under my sweaters. It's just not my style. So I'm knitting sweaters with a little bit of a smaller collar. So yeah, those are my finished objects. I am so happy to get those done, especially my winter woods. It was at the point where I had like one sleeve and a little bit of the body left, and I couldn't rip it out like that. I couldn't like process not finishing it when I've made it this far. So I just made sure that I worked on it a little bit every day, and I'm so glad I did. Okay. Now we move on to works in progress. This is a brand new one that I started in January. Yeah, last month. And I've just got the beginnings of it right now. So here is the body. And of course I'm in the middle of a row. I ran out of yarn, but I wasn't just going to attach another cake right away. So this is the Reluctant Homeschooler by Caitlin Hunter. It is a bottom-up cardigan knit with bulky weight yarn. I'm holding DK weight double to get the bulky weight gauge. So this is the body. It's a little bit cropped. And this is the sleeve. So here are the yarns separate. This is the Whirlpool DK. That was from my shop originally. You're going to see a lot of projects with leftover stock, which I'm sorry for you, but I'm very much enjoying having this yarn as stock in my stash. So this was dyed by my husband, and it is Beach Sunset. And then this one is Lost Gold. So I'm holding those two together. I'm not sure how I feel about the color. I've got the first sleeve about halfway there. I'm not sure how I feel about the colors. It doesn't excite me, but it's growing on me. I think it's kind of fun and funky. And the progress keepers I have attached definitely help. So it's a book of maps from Christmas at Sea. Progress Keeper Advent I did a couple years ago. There's a cookie with some star sprinkles. I've got a little beer mug. So cute. And then this is a little glass bottle with a shell and a pearl with sand from Ukulele. When I made this calendar, right off the Canadian beaches. So if you have this calendar from way back when, that is what it's from. I think it adds to almost the oceany. It reminds me of a beach house. It's like a beach house cardigan. But I love how squishy it is. I'm using the needles called for. Most of the time, I've found that Caitlin Hunter and I have roughly the same gauge, so that's nice. So I'm using needles called for, and this is my first bottom-up project, which is really fun. I'm a little nervous by it, but I'm just going to push through and not let my nervousness slow this project down, because I really want more cardigans in my life. I really need them because I wear them all the time. I only have two. One my mom knit. It was the Simple Hug by the Cozy Up ladies. And the other is the Spring Autumn Jacket by, I don't remember, but you've seen me wear it before. You've seen me knit it. I knit it a couple years ago. I really love it, but I just need more cardigans in my life, so I really want this done. It's going to be a little bit of yarn chicken, because I have pretty much the exact amount needed using 8 skeins of DK weight yarn, held double, 4 of each colorway. So it's going to be a little tight. That also makes me nervous, which doesn't help the situation, but I'm just going to continue on. If I run out of yarn, oh well, I'll find some way to remedy that. I'm sure I could figure out something. Yeah, and if I'm not a huge fan of how the colors have worked up, I think once it's done, it's going to grow on me completely. If not, I think I'm just going to over dye it like a nice deep brown. Hopefully. So, and that is the reluctant homeschooler so far. The next work in progress is another, well, this is a tunic instead of a sweater. And this is just an amazing project that is just completely satisfying to my just want to knit stockinette. So this is the Gentle Lopi by Melody Hoffman. It is a tunic pattern that is supposed to be knit out of worsted or Aran weight. I'm using DK held with a mohair, and I'm using the needles called for. I have split for sleeves and have just the glorious amount of stockinette to knit down the body. I would love to have this done before summer, just to have a little bit of wear out of it, but if that doesn't happen, that is totally okay. So I am using my own hand-dyed yarn in the colorway First Mate in the Whirlpool DK. And then this was originally Lady Confident, which was a lime green mohair, but I overdyed it red, and it turned out super close to the original DK weight yarn, which is nice. Yeah, so really love this pattern. It's a lot of raglan, but I think it's just gonna be amazing. Like, look how big these armholes are. It's gonna be so cozy. It'll just be a decadent project. And I would really love to knit another one using Lion Brand Homespun, which is like the original boucle. I used it a lot when I was a kid for like stuffed animals and stuff like that, when I first learned how to crochet and knit. And it's just so nice, and I think it would just make the best tunic. So yeah. Okay, so this is the crochet content of the episode. After I finished my neat ripple blanket, I went on the hunt for a new kind of scrappy blanket pattern, a crochet blanket pattern, because I've realized that I can't knit blankets. It's just, I don't have the patience for it. The only one I've ever knit is behind me. This is the Bits and Bobs blanket by the Bakery Bears, and I love it, but it took me 4 years to knit. Whereas the neat ripple blanket took me only 1. So I turned to this. So this is the linen square, and I followed the tutorial by Tony Lipsy. So it is kind of like a granny square, but instead you're using single crochets, and I love it. I love it so much. I love the fabric it creates, and I really want to just work through my old stash, like stuff that has been waiting so long, kind of like how this yarn waited for so long to be worked up. I just have other yarns that have been patiently waiting. So I'm taking those and I'm making them into blankets. Whatever size feels like it works. So this one contains a opal yarn. This is all fingering held double. This is Boy's Best Friend. Then we have a... Give me a sec. I had a ball band with her on it. This isn't the colorway, but All Points North Yarn Co., which is also the Impossible Knot, my local yarn shop. On her Sweet Sock base, 85% superwash merino, 15% nylon. It's a fingering weight, 100 gram skein, and I believe it's like teal, but is really nice. My brother got it for me for Christmas, and I thought it matched so nicely, so I threw it into the blanket. Next up, I've just attached this one. This is flock fiber in the Holly Days colorway on her Take a Hike sock base. This is a Christmas themed yarn. Flock fiber. There you go. And it is so pretty. So I'm just using fingering held double, and I am using a 5mm crochet hook. I don't know what that is in lettering. Yeah, linen stitch square. I've just been throwing a bunch of random yarn skeins in here. I've got this one-of-a-kind yarn that I dyed so many years ago. So after that, it'll be this. Let's see if I can do this. And then I'm not quite sure if it meets the vibe, like with how blue this blanket is. But I'm wondering about this yarn up here. Let me know, is that a good choice? Will it work? It might. We'll see. It's going to take me a little bit to get to that yarn, so I have time to think about it. Yeah, so that is my simple crochet project. I pick this up every once in a while. I hope to make like a decent lap blanket size. Sorry, I keep close to the mic. I'm just keeping it in this big old bucket bag from Ginger Snap. I really love it. I think that is it for yarn content. Yeah, that's all the work I've done in the past couple months, which is actually quite a bit, and it makes me super happy. But it feels really good to get back on track so that now I will be able to remember things for the podcast, which will be better for both you and me. We'll move on to a little bit of book stuff and then life stuff, because there's quite a bit of life stuff to talk about. If that is something that you are not interested in, I really appreciate you being here anyway and hanging out with me and seeing all my projects and being patient with my spotty memory. And if you are not subscribed, could you please subscribe? It would mean a lot. Or just leave a like, comment down below, say hi, what are you working on? Where are you from? Whatever. And yeah, so thank you so much. Now let's move on to what I've been reading and life stuff. So I have taken up reading with just a fiery passion. I don't know. I have been reading so much. But to kind of bridge the gap between books and reading, I wanted to show this off. This was one of my birthday gifts. This is Observations from Lane Publishing by Lota H. Lothgren. I hope I said that right. Beautiful book. Lane Magazine, or Lane Publishing and Lane Magazine. So this is also a Lane Publishing book. Love this book. This is just as gorgeous. This is just full of just amazing images and patterns. Let me see if I can just find a pattern without, like, how wonderful is that? I might have to make that. I will have plans to just make everything in this book. I know there's one in here that particularly caught my attention. I think this would be a wonderful project to have for the summertime. I think for like the springtime weather, I really want some fingering weight knitted tops, like the Tolsta tee and maybe that one. I haven't gotten to that yet, but there's just look at it. Just this sweater, I love. Just love it. It's such a beautiful book. Anyway, I wanted to show that off. I haven't made anything from it yet, but I plan to. Okay, I should have been booting up my Kobo all this time. But from the last podcast, I don't know if I talked about it, but it's over here. The nice thing about being right next to your bookshelf is I can reach all the books. So I finished, I think I was just reading this the last time I talked about it. I finished Fourth Wing, loved this book. I originally read it on my Kobo, and my mom ended up getting me the printed version for my birthday. I just love it. It's so pretty. I see people painting them all the time, and it slightly tempts me to try that, but I'm going to wait until my skills are up to par. And then I also bought, I haven't read it, but this is Iron Flame, which is the next book in the series. I know that there's crazy stuff happening. I actually have a lot of the spoilers. I don't mind spoilers, but I'm going to wait until probably the fall to read this, so that there is less time in between this book and the next book coming out in December. But how pretty is that? I think it's supposed to flow the other way. That looks better. Isn't that nice? So I finished that one. I finished A Court of Mist and Fury by Sarah J. Maas. Really loved that one. I realize now that the Court of Thorns and Roses series, the first book, I read it and I was like, I don't understand the hype of this series. And then I read the second one. I was like, oh, this makes more sense. The plot just gets so much more. It's really interesting with like a war going on and relationships between the courts. It's so good. And now I'm reading A Court of Wings and Ruin. I finished From Blood and Ash by Jennifer L. Armentrout, which it was okay. It didn't draw me in very quickly. The second half of it was a lot more enjoyable than the beginning. I trudged through it. The thing about it is that the way the book ends makes me want to read the next one. I have it waiting in my overdrive on the Kobo, which is where you can borrow books from your library's like online presents. I don't know what to call it, but anyway, I have a few weeks to wait for that, which I'm okay with. It was okay. I began reading Small Favors by Erin A. Craig, which I started to read it just because I really love Erin A. Craig. Her books of House of Salt and Sorrows, and then House of Roots and Ruin. I loved those books. I love the plot that was in it. It's a little bit on like the darker, a little bit creepy side, but I'm okay with that. So I got her other book, Small Favors, which is a retelling of Rumpelstiltskin. It's okay. It's not as exciting as the other books. It's not in the same I don't want to use the word vibe, but it's not the same vibe as those other books. Maybe as I continue on through it, it'll get a little bit better. I never thought I would be a person to read multiple books at once, kind of like how you have multiple whips going at once. I never thought I'd be a multi-book reader, but I found that I will take breaks in between the Court of Thorns and Roses series to just stretch it out to enjoy. Like, I don't want to do my thing of just eating up the entire series as quickly as possible and then I don't have it anymore. So I take breaks and read other books to kind of catch up. I am a reading addict now, which is okay. It works out well for later at night when we turn the lights off and my husband has to get to sleep sooner than I do. I am definitely a night owl, and so I have the Kobo to read in the dark without bothering him, which is very handy. I think that's it on the Kobo. I've put, this is like a magnet to put your phone onto the dash of your vehicle, but it's worked well as almost like a pop socket for my Kobo. And then I have some stickers going on there. I've run out of space on the back of my laptop to put stickers on, so now they are going to the Kobo. They'll have my Bible study from Well-Watered Women that I try to do every day. And then I have been reading the Chronological Bible, which is actually awesome. It is the entire Bible split up to be read through in 1 year. And I've been really enjoying that. Amy Kate of the Graceful Tango was the first person who kind of showed that off to me. And my mom got it. And she got distracted by other things. So I stole the book to do this year. And yeah, so that is all of the reading content. I'm sorry if you came in here and was like, oh, I just want life stuff. Books first, because books are actually a big part of life for me. I don't have an Audible subscription anymore, so I can't really knit and listen to audiobooks as I used to. But a funny thing is I borrowed Heartless by, hang on, it's underneath you, I'm sorry. I'll put a picture up of the book cover here. My library had it on CD, and I was like, oh, that would be awesome. Then I can listen to an audiobook and knit. At what point in time did CDs become irrelevant? Like, it made me feel really old to bring this audiobook home in CD form and then realize I own nothing to listen to this CD audiobook on. It only annoyed me because it made me feel just so old. I remember being able to listen to audiobooks on CD as a kid, And I just loved it, especially being able to put it into like our truck's CD player when we went on long road trips. My mom would pop whatever audiobook we were listening to, whether it's usually like Narnia. And that was amazing. It was just wonderful. So I had to pull this, steal this from one of my younger brothers. This is from my dad. I'm going to say in his high school years. I might be wrong. Or young adulthood. But I used this during my school years to listen to like Aqua and Thousand Foot Crutch. It just brings back memories. But this, there's a screw loose somewhere in there. But this has been an old faithful, and I will have to find earbuds. It just made me laugh. That is how hard it would be to listen to a CD nowadays. If that doesn't make you feel old, you're too young to understand. It makes me feel old. Yeah, so now that I have that, I'm going to have a ton of knitting time to listen to Heartless, which is a retelling of Alice in Wonderland. I'm really excited about that. I love Alice in Wonderland. Okay, life stuff. I'll grab the body of this sweater to knit while I talk about life stuff. So, finished Vlogmas, and that was definitely my last Vlogmas in the sense that I wanted to do it to honor my aunt who really loved Christmas, and that was really, I don't know, healing to do. And I know now that I don't want to do Vlogmas ever again because it's just too much work. But I did have fun doing it, and I was YouTubed out by the end of it, so I decided to take a break. And I said, I'll see you next year. I'll see you in January. It was my specific words, and January came around, and I still didn't feel like getting back into it. I didn't feel like Instagram. I didn't feel like YouTube. I didn't feel like being present on the internet at all. And so I kind of just tried to do small things for the business, and I kept getting this almost sinking feeling every time I went to it, which is not something you want when you run a small business, that this is the work that you're supposed to enjoy entirely and it never feel like work. But it hit the point where I didn't want to do it. I didn't want to get back into the social media, and painting was becoming something that I dreaded, which I didn't want. I really love painting. I love drawing. I love that art form. And so that was kind of the red flag to me to be like, you know what? I think it's time to step away. And so I decided to close Kraken, which was really, it was a bittersweet time. I felt so much relief, but I did feel like almost that missing of saying goodbye to an old friend. But it was a good decision. And then I also decided to leave Instagram because it's just not the same as when I first started on Instagram. I find lately that it is a place where we are attempting to stay the same and be creative, but it's a scary place because people have become extremely judgmental, and you feel like you have to watch your step with whatever you do. And it really added to me not wanting to run a business on Instagram. So I decided it was just time to go. It was, I think, somebody explained it really well, that the internet is young. The internet was like getting into a new relationship, and everything's wonderful and nothing could ever go wrong. And then the internet hit the phase of the relationship where things got serious, but also everything annoyed the other person. Like it that part of the relationship, that it's a make it or break it moment, and it was not going well. So I decided I really wanted to just step back and just be present for real life. I am somebody who's in my early 20s and has a lot of life still to figure out and go through and experience. And I wanted to just not have the weight of social media in that mix. So I decided to just leave. And it's been really good. It's weird, but it's amazing how much you can get done when you're not scrolling reels anymore. I do miss seeing people's stuff. I am out of the loop of things, but that is okay. I still have a bunch of my friends from Instagram who I know I wanted to talk to personally, and I still have those things, and I'm really grateful for them. And I'm very grateful for you guys who have supported me throughout this entire business journey, and it's just time to do something new. I've decided to stick with YouTube. I really love YouTube. I love the connections that I've made through YouTube, and there's just going to be a little bit more. There is going to be a new channel with a fresh podcast eventually, but I'm going to continue on with the Let's Get Kraken podcast for now until I know that I'm ready. I'm going to be studying sound and editing and better ways to, my computer's breaking up, to promote the podcast. I've been talking for a long time. I realized that my computer died. Well, not died, but it fell asleep. But yeah, just all that's happening. There's going to be new stuff happening, but you will be in the loop. And I'm not going anywhere from YouTube. I'm also not going anywhere from Ravelry. You will see name changes on Ravelry, especially with the pattern titles, or my designer name will change to Eden Rain, which is a simple, kind of like how Boylan Knitworks is Caitlin Hunter, and Dre Renee Knits is Andrew Mowry, and B Mandarines is Melody Hoffman. It's me, but it's just my name. Eden Rain Designs. So that will be changed over time. And then Kraken Made will slowly be changed, but I'm not going anywhere from Ravelry or YouTube, so don't worry about that. Yeah. So that is what is going on. I got my hair cut off. Love it. I feel fresh. I feel clean. Much easier to handle than the long hair. I gave my long hair a chance, and I have super thick hair, and it gets to be really heavy. So I think I'm a short hairstyle person. Yeah, that is what has gone on. That is what is going on, and I will be taking you through whatever happens next. Don't worry. I'm going to be talking about it all on YouTube. Okay. I think that's all the life stuff. I've been talking for a really long time. This is going to be quite a hefty podcast, but it will be worth it. Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you have a wonderful day, night, evening, morning, whatever time it is there that is full of yarny goodness and joy. And I will talk to you next time. If you are not subscribed, please consider subscribing to stay connected in this adventure. And if not, that's okay. You can just at least leave a like, leave a comment down below talking about what you're working on, introducing yourself if you're new. And yeah. Okay. Bye.